Unlock Gnostic Gospels, the forbidden teachings of Jesus that free your soul. The church hid it. Let's begin with the lost key of consciousness. Is there more to Jesus' story than the Bible tells? Have you ever stopped to think if the story of Jesus, as told to us by the Bible and the church for 2 millennia, is really the complete story? Have you ever felt, deep down, that maybe there are missing pieces to this puzzle? Lost teachings, silenced perspectives, a depth of wisdom that was deliberately hidden from the masses? What if I told you that this intuition isn't just fantasy, but an echo of an explosive truth, a truth contained in ancient texts that were hunted down, condemned as heresy, and banned by the very institutions that claim to be guardians of the faith? Welcome to Gaia's Ascension channel. Today we're embarking on a dangerous but deeply liberating journey through the forbidden corridors of spiritual history. We're going to unearth the Gnostic Gospels. These ancient texts, many discovered only in the 20th century, like the famous Nag Hammadi manuscripts, offer a radically different vision of Jesus, his teachings, and the very meaning of spirituality. Far from being mere historical curiosities or heretical forgeries, as the traditional church has labeled them for centuries, the Gnostic Gospels may contain the lost key to a level of consciousness and self-realization that has been systematically denied to us. They speak of gnosis, a direct, intimate, and transformative knowledge of the divine, achieved not through blind faith in external dogmas, but through awakening the divine spark that resides within each of us. They portray Jesus not so much as a savior who dies for the sins of the world, but as an enlightened master, a spiritual guide who came to share hidden secrets, to show us the path to liberation from the prison of ignorance and the material world. Why were these teachings considered so dangerous? Why did the nascent church, with the support of the Roman Empire, strive so hard to eradicate them, burning their texts and persecuting their followers? Could it be that the Gnostic message of self-empowerment, inner divinity, and direct knowledge fundamentally threatened the hierarchical power structures that were being built? In this video, we'll explore the mysterious rise of Gnosticism in the early Christian world, the treasures of wisdom contained in texts like the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, and the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, the radical Gnostic perspective on Jesus, creation, salvation, and the nature of God, a perspective that might turn your beliefs upside down, and most importantly, what the lasting legacy of Gnosticism can teach us today about our own spiritual journey, our search for meaning, and our capacity to unlock the secrets of human consciousness. Prepare to question what you thought was true. The story of Jesus that the church doesn't want you to know is about to be revealed, and it might be the key to your own liberation. The rebellion of the soul, Gnosticism, forbidden knowledge, and the stolen divine spark. In the previous block, we opened the door to the mysterious universe of the Gnostic Gospels, suggesting they contain a version of Jesus' story and spirituality that was deliberately suppressed. But what exactly was Gnosticism, and why were its followers hunted as the worst heretics by the church that was becoming dominant? Gnosticism wasn't a unified religion with a single creed, like the Catholicism that was forming. It was an incredibly diverse spiritual and philosophical movement that flourished in the first centuries of the Christian era, especially in places like Egypt and Syria, but with echoes throughout the Roman Empire. The key word, as we said, is gnosis, knowledge. But not just any knowledge learned from books or transmitted by authorities. It was intuitive, revelatory knowledge, a direct and transformative experience of the divine that awakened the soul to its true nature and origin. While the Orthodox Church, in the sense of correct belief that was being established, emphasized faith in dogmas, obedience to hierarchy, and salvation through the Church's rituals and Christ's sacrifice, the Gnostics walked a radically different path. They believed that human beings carry within themselves a divine spark, a particle of light from the true supreme source, which is imprisoned in this material world. This material world, for many Gnostics, was not the perfect creation of a good God. On the contrary, they saw it as an inferior creation, sometimes even an illusion or a cosmic prison, the work of a lesser, ignorant, or even malevolent entity they called the Demiurge, the craftsman or public creator. This demiurge, often identified with the jealous and wrathful God of the Old Testament, Yahweh, Jehovah, would believe himself to be the only God, but would actually be just an administrator of this limited material universe, blind to the existence of the true transcendent source of all light. The archons, or rulers, would be the servants of the demiurge, forces or entities that help keep humanity trapped in the ignorance of matter, through the passions, fears, attachments, and illusions of this world. Salvation, for the Gnostic, was not being forgiven for sins against this demiurge, but rather awakening. Awakening to the reality of the inner divine spark, remembering one's origin in the fullness of light, the pleroma, the realm of the supreme source, and transcending the clutches of the demiurge and the archons through gnosis. Jesus, for many Gnostics, didn't come to die for sins committed against the demiurge. He came as a messenger of light, an enlightened master sent by the supreme source to bring gnosis to sleeping humanity. His secret teachings, transmitted to an inner circle of disciples, men and women like Mary Magdalene, who had a prominent role in many Gnostic texts, contained the keys to this awakening. They were teachings about the true nature of being, about the illusion of the material world, about how to navigate through the spheres of the archons, and about how to reunite the divine spark back to the source. Can you see how explosive and subversive this vision was for the Church that was allying itself with the power of the Roman Empire? If the truth is within each person, if salvation is an inner awakening through direct knowledge and not obedience to external dogmas, if the Creator God of this world is actually an inferior and controlling entity, if Jesus is a master who shows you the path to your own divinity, instead of a sacrifice that makes you dependent on an institution for redemption, then the entire power structure of the hierarchical church, with its bishops, its controlled sacraments, its fixed creeds and its alliance with the state, becomes at best irrelevant and at worst part of the very control system of the demiurge. It's no wonder that church fathers like Irenaeus, Tertullian and Epiphanius wrote volumes and volumes attacking the Gnostics, distorting their teachings and labeling them as the worst of heresies. It was a battle for the soul of Christianity. On one side, a religion of faith, obedience and institutional authority. On the other, a path of inner knowledge, direct experience, and individual liberation. Guess who won, with the support of the swords and gold of the Roman Empire? But like all suppressed truth, Gnosis didn't disappear completely. Its echoes survived in esoteric traditions, in hidden texts, and perhaps most importantly, in the very human intuition that yearns for something more than the ready-made answers of organized religions. And the discovery of Nag Hammadi in the 20th century brought many of these lost voices back to light. The idea of a stolen divine spark, forbidden knowledge that leads to liberation, and a lesser God controlling this world. Does this sound familiar with other theories or feelings you've already explored? Here at Gaia's Ascension channel, we want to know your deepest perception. Which aspect of Gnosticism, the inner divine spark, the controlling demiurge, or Jesus as a master of gnosis instead of a sacrifice, resonates most with your search for truth beyond the veil? Leave your insight in the comments. Your voice is part of this collective awakening. And if unveiling this forbidden knowledge and reconnecting with your inner wisdom is what moves you, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now to Gaia's Ascension channel and activate the bell so you won't miss the next block, where we'll dive into the specific treasures found in the Gnostic Gospels, like those of Thomas and Mary Magdalene. The Secret Gospels Unveiled, Thomas, Mary Magdalene and the Lost Words of Jesus. In the previous block, we unveiled the central philosophy of Gnosticism, the search for direct knowledge, gnosis, that awakens the divine spark imprisoned within us, freeing us from the illusion of this material world and its inferior creator, the demiurge. But where do we find these teachings? What are these texts that were so zealously hunted and suppressed? Thanks to the incredible discovery of the Nag Hammadi library in 1945 in Egypt, many of these secret gospels came to light, offering a glimpse of a Christianity that could have been. Let's explore some of the most fascinating. First, the Gospel of Thomas. Unlike the canonical Gospels that narrate the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus, Thomas is a collection of 114 secret sayings or logia attributed to him. There's no narrative, just pearls of wisdom, riddles and provocations designed to lead the listener to a state of inner illumination. Thomas's emphasis is relentlessly on self-knowledge as the key to the kingdom. Jesus says in Thomas, "When you know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will know that you are sons of the living Father. But if you do not know yourselves, then you are in poverty, and you are the poverty." He also states, "The kingdom of the Father is spread upon the earth, and men do not see it." And further, "He who knows the all but fails to know himself has failed in everything." Do you see the radical difference? There's no focus on sin, redemption through blood, or the need for a church. The focus is interior, immediate, experiential. The kingdom is not a future place, but a present reality to be discovered within and around us through self-knowledge. Jesus in Thomas is the master who points the way to this gnosis, not the sacrifice who pays a debt. Then we have the Gospel of Philip. This text is more complex and allegorical, exploring themes like the nature of Gnostic sacraments, which were very different from those of the Orthodox Church. The sacred union, the bridal chamber, as a metaphor for the union of the soul with the divine, or the reintegration of masculine-feminine opposites within oneself, and the figure of Mary Magdalene. Philip is famous for a controversial passage that suggests a special intimacy between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, referring to her as his companion, and mentioning that he kissed her frequently on the mouth, and the word is damaged in the manuscript. Regardless of the literal interpretation of this kiss, what's clear is that Mary Magdalene is portrayed in Philip and in other Gnostic texts as a disciple of exceptional spiritual understanding, perhaps the one who best understood Jesus' deepest and most secret teachings. This leads us directly to the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. Although fragmented, what survives of this text is powerful. It describes Mary Magdalene comforting the other apostles after Jesus' departure and sharing with them secret teachings that Jesus revealed to her privately. These teachings involve the soul's ascension through different levels or archontic powers that try to prevent its journey back to the source. Mary demonstrates deep knowledge about how to overcome these obstacles based on inner vision and gnosis. However, her authority and teachings are questioned by some of the male apostles, especially Peter, who seems to resent her prominence and her special relationship with the Master. Levi, Matthew, then defends her, reminding the others that the Savior loved her more than them. This gospel not only elevates the feminine to a position of spiritual leadership and knowledge, but also highlights the conflict between the intuitive and experiential way of gnosis, represented by Mary, and a more dogmatic or hierarchical approach, represented by Peter. It's an echo of the battle being fought in early Christianity. Other Gnostic texts like the Gospel of Truth, the Apocryphon of John, or the Pistis Sophia explore complex cosmologies, the nature of the soul's fall into matter, the role of figures like Sophia, divine wisdom, and the journey of return to the fullness of light. What all these texts have in common, despite their differences, is a radical emphasis on inner knowledge, gnosis. Salvation or liberation comes from awakening the divine spark through direct knowledge, not blind faith. Jesus as master and enlightened guide. He is a revealer of mysteries, a bearer of gnosis, not primarily a sacrifice for sin. The divine within. God is not just an external entity, but a reality to be discovered within one's own soul. The illusion of the material world. The physical world is often seen as a trap or inferior creation that obscures true spiritual reality. The importance of the divine feminine. Figures like Sophia and Mary Magdalene frequently play crucial roles and are bearers of wisdom. These weren't teachings to be passively accepted. They were invitations to an inner journey of radical transformation, to question perceived reality, and to reclaim one's own divinity. Can you imagine the impact these Gospels would have had if they had been included in the biblical canon? The history of Christianity, and perhaps of the Western world, could have been profoundly different. A history with more emphasis on inner power, direct experience, and spiritual equality between men and women, but that wasn't the story they allowed us to know. Gnosis resurges, unlocking the secrets of the soul in the modern era. we've traveled the dusty paths of history, unearthing the hidden treasures of the Gnostic Gospels. We've seen a Jesus who taught self-knowledge as the key to the kingdom, a Mary Magdalene as apostle of inner wisdom, and a vision of existence where the divine spark within us yearns to free itself from the illusion of matter. For almost 2 millennia, this rich and diverse Gnostic tradition was brutally suppressed, its texts burned, its followers persecuted. The official narrative of the hierarchical and dogmatic church prevailed, shaping Western civilization. But truth, like a powerful seed, can never be completely eradicated. It waits patiently underground, awaiting the right moment to germinate again. And that moment seems to have arrived. The spectacular rediscovery of Gnostic texts at Nag Hammadi in 1945 was like thunder in the sky of theology and history. Suddenly, we had direct access to the voices of those who had been silenced, to an alternative Christianity that spoke of inner awakening, direct experience, and spiritual sovereignty. Today, the influence of Gnosticism on contemporary spirituality is undeniable and growing. Why? Because in a world increasingly disenchanted with institutional religions, with their rigid dogmas, their power struggles, and their apparent disconnection from the deep needs of the human soul, the Gnostic message resonates with particular force. It appeals to the individual seeker, those who are not content with ready-made answers and feel a calling to explore the mysteries of existence for themselves, the thirst for deep meaning. In an era of materialism and superficiality, Gnosis offers a path to find transcendent meaning and connection with something greater, but which resides within. Personal empowerment. The idea that we carry a divine spark and have the capacity to achieve illumination through our own effort and knowledge is immensely liberating. Self-discovery. Gnosticism is, in essence, a journey of radical self-knowledge. Know thyself is not just a slogan, but the very path to divinity, reclaiming the divine feminine. The prominence of figures like Sophia, Wisdom, and Mary Magdalene in Gnostic texts offers a crucial counterpoint to excessively patriarchal traditions, rescuing the importance of intuition, compassion, and the balance of energies. Gnosticism, with its emphasis on personal experience, inner transformation, and the search for hidden knowledge, offers a powerful framework for understanding human consciousness, the nature of reality, and our own spiritual journey in a world that cries out for deeper and more authentic answers. Here at Gaia's Ascension channel, we see Gnostic teachings not as a belief system to be adopted blindly, but as an invitation to your own gnosis. The hidden truths that the Gnostics sought are not just in ancient papyri. They are alive, pulsing within you, waiting to be discovered. How can we then unlock these secrets in our modern life? Practice radical self-reflection. Dedicate time to looking within, to questioning your beliefs, your fears, your desires. Where do they originate? Do they serve you or limit you? Cultivate inner awareness. Through meditation, introspection, mindfulness, learn to silence external noise and listen to the subtle voice of your soul, your divine spark. Seek knowledge beyond traditional doctrines. Explore different philosophies, esoteric traditions, cutting-edge science. Gnosis feeds on curiosity and an open mind. But remember, all external knowledge is just a map. The true journey is interior. Trust your direct experience. Don't allow any external authority, whether religious, scientific, or social, to invalidate your own intuitive experience of truth. Your personal gnosis is your most reliable compass. Integrate your shadow and your light. The Gnostics understood duality. Awakening involves recognizing and integrating all parts of yourself, not just those we consider good or spiritual. The Gnostic journey is a journey of return home to the source, but this home is not a distant place in heaven. It is the luminous center of your own being. The Gnostic Gospels, so long forbidden and silenced, are now available to us. They are a testament to the indomitable human search for truth and spiritual freedom. May we honor their legacy, not just by studying their words, but by living gnosis in our own lives. This exploration of the Gnostic Gospels and gnosis is just scratching the surface of a universe of wisdom. But we hope it has lit a flame in you, a desire to know more, to feel more, to be more. Which Gnostic teaching or idea most exploded your mind or touched your soul today? The idea of the divine spark, Jesus as a master of Gnosis, or the critique of the Demiurge? How do you plan to incorporate the search for Gnosis, for direct inner knowledge, into your own spiritual journey from now on? Your voice is essential in this awakening community. Share your reflections and commitments in the comments below. Let's inspire each other to walk this path of self-discovery and liberation. And if you felt the call to continue this exploration of the mysteries of consciousness and to unlock the secrets of your own soul, Gaia's Ascension channel is your portal. Subscribe now and activate all notifications. Each video is a step in your ascension journey. Remember, the most sacred knowledge is not locked in ancient books or guarded by institutions. It resides eternal and accessible in the sanctuary of your own heart. Gnosis is waiting for you. Until the next discovery.